so I want to talk about Love is Blind. Okay, so if you watch the last of season 6, the last episode, I believe, before the reunion, it just is a reminder that people really need to work on their childhood traumas before you date people, before you just get into relationships with other people. So that episode for me was just like, there was so much to uncover in that. I don't have time enough to go into it, but I'm gonna go into it a little bit briefly. So I felt so bad for my girl AD. I feel like she has so much to offer. I feel like in a sense she underestimates her value, to be honest with you. And I feel like she deserves the world, and I feel like she really needs to like know that. I know she seems confident, and she's confident, like in her, but I feel like she doesn't recognize like the beauty and the power that's like within her to know like her value and her worth. And I think that that's sometimes a lot for women, and I've been there too, in that position where you just don't recognize like what you carry and who you are. I feel like so with AD, like we can just all relate to being in that situation where you feel like you give so much but you get so little from people. So I think that when she started to cry, and like every woman out there, again, I can't speak for men, I can speak for women because I'm a woman, but could relate to just what it feels like to feel like you give and you give and you give and you don't get back what you give to people. So that was like heart-wrenching, heartbreaking just to kind of like watch. I just feel like I've come to the realization, and as you get older, you realize like, I'm gonna not give people all of me if they're not willing to do the same. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not keep the cookie, keep everything locked up until people are willing to want to give you all that they should give you. You know what I mean? You don't get to taste this ride, if that makes sense, unless you're willing to to want to be in it 100% and all of that stuff. So I think that that's something that you kind of learn further on the journey of life in terms of age, and I'm kind of up there. So you do get to learn that once you get a little bit older. People come to that realization younger too, but I think that that's just something that you also recognize, like, hey, when you know your worth, you know what you have to offer, and so yeah, like I also believe that it's not, you also learn, another thing that you learn is that it's not your job to heal people. It's that's a part of their journey, and you can always walk with someone to be a helper on that, but that's not your job. People have to come to that realization, to recognize that, and then let God help them on that journey too, for themselves to get to where they need to be. Like, that's not your job to do like the heavy lifting. Relinquish that. You don't have to take that on. Like, relinquish it to God for them and with them, and be with them on that journey, walk beside them, but that's not for you to carry, right? So that's something that you also learn in this beautiful thing called life. I do actually feel sorry for Clay, because I think that he is in that season of learning, and I think that he really wants to grow and he wants to learn, and I feel like he's getting so much like flack for what he said in regards to like the growth, and like he needs therapy. I think that is all good. Number one, firstly, I don't think that he should have been on that show in the first place. Like, if you have things to work on and you're dealing with trauma and like all of that stuff, number one, don't go on the show in the first place. Don't go on a show that the end goal is to get married. Like, number one, that was the biggest red flag. Number two, what I can say is that the fact that he can recognize that he needs therapy and he needs help, and I think that that's a good understanding when you have that reflection to be able to say, like, I'm not in that place, I can't offer you this, and I need to be able to work on me. And I think that that's a really great thing for him. I really wished in that episode he actually had a conversation with his dad in regards to like the past and how he felt and why his dad did what he did, because I think that would have helped him in a sense. I feel like he's someone that just needs like a strong male role model to be like, sit down, let me talk to you, let me give you the rundown about like relationships, like the do's and the don'ts, just a really strong male counterpart that's probably just been married and like can just like really talk to him about the good, the bad, and everything that comes with it, and to realize that like, life is not perfect, relationships aren't perfect, but it's a journey of growing together and learning and, understanding each other and all of that stuff. I didn't really like the fact that he kept acting as if like cheating was, as if it was something that you have a choice. You get to decide how you want to live your life. So if you don't want to cheat, don't do it. You know what I mean? It's not a disease or whatever the case might be. Like, you get to choose if you want to do it or not, you know what I mean? Like, so that was something that for me I was just like, okay. But I feel like he's someone that can learn and can grow. He just needs that, like, he needs someone that's able to like walk with him and like go through that journey with him. A part of me also kind of felt like maybe he liked AD for what he saw, but I don't think that that was his natural normal type of woman that he would probably normally go for. That's just my feeling, but again, I could be wrong, I'm just speculating. But I feel like sometimes the beauty in life is that you get something that you might not necessarily think that is for you, and it ends up being the most beautiful blessing to you in the world. So sometimes you really have to look at the bigger picture in regards to stuff. But I do think that we need to give him a little bit of grace, because I think that he recognizes what he needs to work on, and he just needs to work on it. He probably just shouldn't be on a show trying to deal with all that he's dealing with and trying to date people. But again, it is goes for entertainment. I'm excited to see what the reunion brings. Drop a comment down below. Let me hear your thoughts and your feelings. Oh, and wait, the fact that they had the mom and dad just having a conversation, for me, that I feel like they need a show in regards to that. I don't know what they would do, but I feel like that in itself, just that conversation between mom and dad, and the mom expressing like, but you weren't good to me. How many people can actually say to themselves like, yep, been there, done that. Yeah, you shouldn't have done that. So the conversation with the mom and dad, like, they need like a show or something, because I feel like, especially the point where she said, he was like, oh, you were, one of the good things. I'm just paraphrasing here, but you're, one of the good things in my life, or whatever to that effect. And she was like, but you didn't treat me good. And I think many women could be like, yes, we've been there. Why do people in hindsight, recognize these things, but in the presence of having it all, they just don't recognize that? So I like that they included that conversation. I think that that just opened a world of like, so many people could relate to that moment in that instant. So yeah, I really appreciated that. We need to get a show with that, where people just untie and unbreak, and like, I loved what she represented and what she, who she was in the presence of that show. So that was good. But anyways, drop your comments down below. Let me know your thoughts and your feelings also, guys. See ya.